Imagine having like the power of a really smart AI right there at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Something you could tweak and mold for whatever you're working on right now.
Yeah, no waiting around for some giant tech company to maybe build the exact thing you need.
Exactly. And that kind of immediate customizable AI, it might be closer than you think because OpenAI has just dropped some pretty big news.
Mm-hmm. Big plans.
So today we're doing a deep dive into their newly announced open weight language model.
And it really feels like a significant moment if you think back to when ChatGPT first landed.
Oh yeah, total game changer.
Right. It opened up AI for so many people. This open weight model, it has that kind of potential, that similar wave of impact, but maybe this time more focused on empowering developers and businesses in a really new way.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to unpack what exactly this open weight model is and maybe more importantly, why this news should, be on your radar.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with the basics then. When we talk about an open weight language model, what are we actually saying? What does that mean?
Okay, yeah, let's get under the hood a bit.
Mm-hmm.
OpenAI is basically planning to share what they call the pre-trained model weights.
The weights, right.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. It's not exactly the same as making everything open source.
Hmm.
Think of it like you get this amazing, incredibly complex cake.
Okay.
You can taste it, you can see its structure, you can even work with pieces of it, maybe refrost it, but you don't get the original recipe,
Yeah.
not every single ingredient in the step.
Gotcha. And you definitely don't get the keys to the specific bakery, the exact ovens and techniques they use from scratch.
Exactly. So the core, the really capable part of the AI model that's being made available, but the fundamental data it learned from and the complete blueprint for how it was built, that stuff, stays with OpenAI.
Yeah, that's a really crucial distinction to keep in mind. OpenWeight isn't fully open source.
Right. So for you, maybe you're a developer or run a business, you're getting access to a really advanced AI that's already, learned a massive amount.
It's already got that general knowledge.
Yeah. And then you can take that foundation and fine tune it, add your own specific stuff to it.
Like getting a master chef's perfect sourdough starter, maybe. You can then feed it and bake your own unique loaves with it.
That's a good analogy. You get the powerful starter, but you make the final bread your own.
And this approach, it seems pretty carefully thought out. It gives a lot of access to powerful AI, but OpenAI still keeps some control over the core tech. It's kind of a strategic balance they're trying to hit.
Okay, so we've got a clearer idea of what this thing is, but why all the buzz? Why should you listening right now, why should you care about this announcement?
Well, there are several really compelling reasons why this is pretty significant. Let's maybe start with customization. The power to tailor it. So if you're a developer or maybe a company trying to solve a really specific problem using AI, building one of these large language models from zero, it's a monumental task.
Huge. We're talking tons of data, crazy powerful computers running for ages.
And serious money, a huge financial investment.
Yeah, potentially millions, right? And maybe years of work.
Easily.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, with this open weight model, you get that pre-trained base that already understands language, has a broad grasp of, the world.
Okay.
Then you can take your own specific data. Maybe it's your company's customer service logs, or maybe research papers in some niche scientific field, and use that to fine-tune the model, make it an expert in just that area.
Okay. So it drastically cuts down the time and the cost.
Yeah.
And just the sheer complexity of making these tailored AI solutions.
Totally. Brings it within reach.
So this could really level the playing field, couldn't it? Allowing smaller outfits or even individual developers to build powerful AI tools that were just impossible before.
Absolutely. That's a big part of the potential here. Another really important angle is the increased transparency it offers.
Transparency. How so?
Yeah.
It's not fully open source, as we said.
Right. It's not full open source, but giving access to the model weights lets the wider AI research community, and that could include you, if you're technically inclined, get a much deeper look at how these models actually work inside.
Okay. See what makes them tick.
Yeah, and how they evolve. This can lead to really valuable insights, not just into their capabilities, but also their limitations, maybe their biases.
It's like getting a look under the hood of a Formula One car.
Mm.
You didn't design every single bit,
Mm-hmm.
but you can see how the engine, the suspension, the aerodynamics, how they all work together. You understand what makes it go fast.
Precisely. That's a great analogy. And we also have to look at the competitive side of things.
Yeah, the AI arms race.
Well, sort of. Companies like Meta, they've already put out their llama models using a similar open weight approach, right? And those have seen a lot of uptake, especially in the research and dev communities.
Right, Llama's been pretty popular.
So OpenAI's move, you can definitely see it, at least partly, as a strategic play to compete more directly for those developers, for those businesses who are drawn to that more open style.
So they're basically signaling, hey, we can offer that kind of access too, maybe even better.
That's probably a fair interpretation. And finally, maybe the most exciting bit for, well, everyone. Wider access for more developers could genuinely speed up innovation.
How so?
Well, if more people can build on these advanced AI models, we could see a much faster pace of new applications popping up everywhere. Think more personalized healthcare tools, maybe more efficient financial services, better educational resources.
Stuff that actually impacts daily life.
Exactly, things that could directly affect your life in positive ways.
So by opening the door, even just partway, they might unleash this flood of new AI tools and services that could, yeah, ultimately benefit a lot of us.
That's the hope, definitely. Okay, now let's maybe broaden out a bit. Think about how this announcement might send ripples, through the whole AI landscape.
Okay, stepping back for the bigger picture,
Yeah.
how might this open weight model actually change the way the whole AI world operates?
Well, one potential impact is seeing more companies, especially larger corporations, adopting OpenAI's tech.
Why is that?
Some companies might have been a bit hesitant before, reluctant to fully commit to OpenAI because their main models, like GPT-4, were so closed off, so proprietary.
Right, the black box issue.
Exactly. This move towards being a bit more open, sharing the weights, it could ease some of those worries. It might make OpenAI's tech look more appealing for wider deployment inside
It's
businesses.
like they're saying, look, we'll show you a bit more of how it works. Maybe that makes you feel safer building your important stuff on our foundation.
Precisely. We could see companies that were maybe sitting on the fence now feeling more confident about integrating OpenAI's models.
Interesting.
And like we touched on, better access for researchers. That can lead to deeper investigations, maybe breakthroughs in AI itself.
Right, refining the core technology.
Yeah, if more researchers can really dig into these models, experiment with them, we could see faster progress in things like making them more efficient, using less power, or maybe reducing bias, improving their overall performance.
So more eyes on the problem could lead to better, more useful models down the line.
That's a very likely outcome, I think. And finally, this definitely ramps up the competitive pressure on the other big players.
You mean like Google and...
Yeah, Google with Gemini, maybe XAI with Grok, others too. They'll probably need to look at their own strategies now. How open, how accessible are they going to make their big models in response?
There we go.
We could be heading into a phase that's even more dynamic, maybe more intensely competitive in AI development.
It sounds like everyone's being pushed to innovate and offer more, which maybe ultimately leads to faster progress and more choices for everybody.
That could be a major positive outcome. However, it's really important to, keep a balanced perspective here. There are definitely potential challenges, concerns worth talking about.
Absolutely. It can't be all smooth sailing, can it?
hmm
What are some of the potential downsides or worries that come with this kind of open weight move?
Well, one of the big ones is security, the potential for misuse.
Right. If it's easier to get, it's easier for bad actors to get too.
Exactly. By making these powerful AI models more widely available, there's inherently a greater risk that they could be used by people or groups with malicious intentions. We're already seeing debates about AI generating misinformation or creating harmful content.
Deepfakes, scams.
All of that. A more accessible model, unfortunately, could make those kinds of activities easier to carry out.
So yeah, greater access fuels innovation, but it also opens doors for abuse. That's something that affects basically everyone using the internet.
It's a serious concern. Another thing to think about is the data privacy angle.
How so?
Well, the details about the training data used for this model, they're likely to remain unclear, right? OpenAI isn't releasing that. So questions remain about what sensitive or potentially biased information might have been part of its training.
Ah, okay. We don't know exactly what went into the model in the first place.
And that's important for understanding potential biases or ethical issues down the line. Then there's the whole debate within the open source community itself.
Right. You mentioned OpenWeight isn't fully open source.
Yeah. And some really strong advocates for full open source might look at this and say, well, it's not enough. They might argue that real openness needs everything. the weights, the complete training data, and all the source code.
So you can fully replicate it, audit it, build on it completely transparently.
Exactly, allowing for total transparency, community-driven development, thorough auditing. So it raises this interesting question, is this just one step by OpenAI towards maybe being more open later? Or is this open weight model their final destination on openness?
Could they ever go back to something like GPT-2, which was more fully open source early on?
It's a valid question. It really highlights that there are different philosophies about what open truly means in AI, and OpenAI's current path might not satisfy everyone in that camp.
Yeah, it sounds like a nuanced debate there. Okay, now for the practical bit. For people keen to actually get their hands on this, what's the timeline looking like?
Right, the million-dollar question. When can we actually expect this open weight model to land?
Yeah.
OpenAI has publicly said they plan to launch it in the coming months, and based on current signals, it seems likely to be before the end of 2025.
Okay, so potentially within the next year or so. That's pretty quick for AI development, feels like.
It is quite rapid, yeah. They seem to be on a fairly ambitious schedule. And something else as part of the rollout, they've announced plans for developer events.
Oh,
They specifically mentioned San Francisco, Europe, and the Asia-Pacific region, so key tech hubs around the world.
okay.
This really shows they want to engage directly with the developer community, get feedback, help people start using this new model effectively.
It sounds like they want it to be more collaborative this time, getting input right from the folks who will actually be building with it.
That seems to be the plan, yeah. Okay, let's zoom out one last time. Think about the bigger picture, the sort of long-term implications of this whole move.
Right, so we've covered what it is, why it matters, the potential bumps, when it might arrive.
hmm
What are the sort of lasting changes we might see because of this open weight model?
Well, this could genuinely signal a broader trend, a larger shift across the AI industry towards more open
You
ecosystems.
think so?
It's possible. If OpenAI's approach works well, if it's widely adopted and successful, it might just encourage other big AI players to try similar things, sharing their foundational models more readily.
Oh, okay.
That could really foster a more collaborative, maybe even more innovative environment across the entire field.
So OpenAI taking this step could start a kind of domino effect, pushing other big companies towards more openness too.
Precisely. And if that trend does catch on, it might force a major rethink of AI strategies for a lot of big tech companies.
Also,
They might need to seriously reevaluate how they approach research, development, how they commercialize AI in a world where the core models are potentially more accessible.
it could really shake up the current power dynamics in the AI world, couldn't
It
it?
definitely has that potential, yes. And finally, bringing it back to you, the listener, especially if you happen to be a developer, this whole thing presents some really significant opportunities. Having access to a powerful pre-trained model that you can then fine-tune for your own specific goals, it means you could play a really key role in building the next wave of AI applications, the next innovations.
So yeah, for anyone with the right skills and maybe a clever idea, this could be a super exciting time to dive in and actually create something new.
Absolutely. Which leads to a pretty interesting question for you to maybe mull over. Given OpenAI's move here towards this open weight model, what do you see as the future of AI openness?
Hmm.
And what effect might that have on how quickly things innovate and how broadly accessible these AI tools become in the, coming years? It's a development with really wide-ranging implications, and your perspective as someone who's going to be interacting with AI more and more is actually really valuable.
Yeah, definitely a lot to chew on there. A potentially huge shift in how AI gets made and shared. Hopefully this deep dive has given you a pretty solid handle on OpenAI's open weight language model and why it's definitely something worth keeping tabs on.
Yeah, we've tried to clarify, what it is, why it matters to different folks, how it might reshape the AI scene, some of those potential hurdles, and the timeline for when it might show up. Ultimately, understanding these kinds of shifts helps you navigate this incredibly fast-moving world of AI.
And hopefully you feel a bit more informed now about a really important step in the ongoing story of AI. So as you keep seeing AI pop up in your life, maybe think about the implications of this move towards more open access. How might that shape the future of this tech? What kind of new possibilities might it unlock for you or maybe for the world? That's definitely something worth pondering.